Watt said the negotiations between the legislature and the governor delayed the timeline of the payments.
Exactly who would get the rebates and how much would they be. And so they finally came to a reasonable conclusion, but it was too late to distribute this money in the summer.
Depending on your income and your tax filing status, you could get anywhere from $200 to $1,050. You must have filed taxes in California in 2020, and you must still live in California now.
There are about 3 million Californians who did not file income taxes.
According to the IRS, if you collect certain benefits, including SSDI, you may see the money starting today. The IRS says it received the data it needed from the Social Security Administration last week for people receiving the following: Social Security retirement, survivor or disability, supplemental security income, and Railroad Retirement Board beneficiaries who did not file a 20.
Here is an important fourth stimulus check update, information about the Social Security benefits, and an increase in SSI and SSDI. Here's the most important information that I want you to know. November checks are beginning to go out. Monthly checks are beginning to go out this month. Inflation relief checks will now be worth up to $2,000 for eligible households. And the Federal Reserve has also officially announced a new plan to tackle inflation. The plan would also help avoid any economic recession. To help California residents battle inflation, the state has also started sending out the middle-class tax refund payments early last month. So, some residents are still wanting and waiting for the one-time payments, and the state has issued a new guidance as to when they will receive them. Middle-class tax refund payments have been sent out to Californians to help with the rising price of gas and the cost of living adjustments. Californians can expect to receive $200 to $1,000 as well. According to California representatives Jim Costa, for instance, the first round of middle-class tax refund and payments have been sent out last month on the 7th and this month upcoming next on the 25th. And those who are eligible for relief will receive their paychecks via direct deposit or mail debit card and stimulus checks as that. The State of California Franchise Tax Board has also explained on its website that if you're eligible, you will automatically receive a payment, which is expected to be issued between October of this year and January of next year. First of all, Californians who received the first of second going to stimulus are also expected to receive the middle-class tax refund direct payments as well, and this is all through direct deposit. The direct deposit recipients who have changed their banking information since filing a tax return will receive a debit card, and it'll be mailed to you in December, and also in January of next month. Now, the Federal Reserve also approved a fourth straight rate hike of 0.75 of a percentage point this week as part of its battle bringing down the soaring inflation that is affecting so many households. The supersized hike, everybody, brings the central bank's benchmark lending rate to a new target range of 3.75 to even 4%. Now, that's the highest the Fed has raised interest rates since January of 2008. The decision came at the end of policy meeting of the Federal Open Market Committee and marks the Fed's toughest policy move since the 80s, and it will likely just deepen the economic pain for so many more people. And so, in a news conference following the meeting, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell said, "The inflation picture has become a lot more and more challenging over the course of this year, and this means we have the policy to be more restrictive, and that narrows the path to a soft landing." Now, Powell also reiterated his decision and his commitment to bring down inflation and his stance that persistent entrenched inflation will only cause greater economic pain than a recession. So everybody, the Fed officials have introduced and included the new section in a statement. The Federal Open Market Committee anticipates that ongoing increases in the target range will be appropriate. It's in order to sustain a stance of monetary policy that is sufficiently restrictive to return inflation to a 2% over time. Now, the new language could also pave the way for an eventual easing in interest rates, as it acknowledges that monetary policy may also be effectively cooling the economy, as economic data indicates strong growth. However, some inflationary pressures are easing. Wages and salaries rose by a percentage point in the third quarter, down from also 1.6% in the second quarter. And through it all, the job market has remained tight. Job openings unexpectedly surged in September, indicating that there are about 1.9 job openings for every available worker. And what this means is that President Biden has to do more for the American people and send out stimulus checks. If you guys agree, tell me in the comments down below. That includes the Social Security Expansion Act, put forward by Senator Bernie Sanders and Warren, with companion House legislation from Peter DeFazio. Currently, Social Security is funded through payroll taxes of 6.2% paid by both workers and their employers, but those taxes only apply to income up to $147,000 as of 2022. Their bills call for phasing out the cap over the next 7 years. For contributions above the cap, it will provide additional benefits. and Sanders and Warren proposal would apply the payroll tax on all income above $250,000 a year, including capital gains, while also raising taxes on net investment income and certain business income. The Sanders and Warren bill calls for giving beneficiaries an extra $2,400 per year or $200 per month. The proposal includes a higher minimum benefit everybody indexed to 125% of the federal poverty line. The National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare has also endorsed all of the plans. President Biden said the U.S. is not in a recession despite Thursday's GDP report, saying it is no surprise that the economy is slowing down amid inflation. The U.S. economy shrank in the spring for the second consecutive quarter, meeting the criteria for recession as record high inflation and higher interest rates forced consumers and businesses to pull back on spending. Gross domestic product, the broadest measure of goods and services produced across the economy, shrank by 0.9% on an annualized basis in the 3-month period from April to June. Biden touted the job market, saying it remains historically strong, with unemployment at 3.6% and more than 1 million jobs created in the second quarter alone. We finally have an update on stimulus timelines from lawmakers. New inflation relief legislation has already been approved. Another batch of payments begin going out starting in just a few weeks. And also watch to the end to learn how to receive the latest stimulus payments. Time is running out for Massachusetts to offer one-time tax rebate checks that could see payments being sent out in October. Individual measures have already cleared both sides of the Senate and House, and once the bill is approved by the Republican governor, Charlie Baker, individual filers will receive a $250 rebate, and married couples who file jointly will get $500 as well. Governor Baker told reporters that he plans to sign the bill, which he hopes is the start of more tax relief efforts, given that the cost of everything has gone up. Lawmakers have until Sunday to get a final bill to Governor Baker. Massachusetts is just one of the many states to address rampant inflation and the growing threat of recession with tax rebate and stimulus checks. Florida, for example, is queuing up $450 inflation relief payments. Indiana Senate Republicans are also unveiling a bill to combat the rising cost of inflation, which represents a clear break from the stimulus plan that Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb proposed that would give every Indiana resident a $225 tax refund. Senate Bill 3 proposes that inflation be addressed by placing a cap on the state sales tax on gas and suspending the 7% sales tax on utilities. Under the proposed legislation, the sales tax on gas cannot exceed 0.29 cents a gallon.
We were told we have 1 minute, so here goes. This is the lightning round. First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here, and I want to echo what Senator Schatz said about the folks behind us representing so many Americans, young and old, who have made climate change such a priority all these years. We would not be standing here today on the verge of passing major legislation which will lower the cost of prescription drugs and help so many millions of seniors, lower the cost of energy for our families, and literally in the same bill, reduce the threat of climate change while reducing the deficit, all in the same bill. This bill does so much more that we don't have time to sum